Hello Booktube. For Tag Tuesday, I'm going to be doing the Booktube Belgium tag. This tag was created by a novella and is a part of the wider Booktube Cities tag created by Jim of Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff, where I originally saw this tag. So I will leave links to both a novella's original tag video as well as Jim's version of this tag. So let's get on with the prompts. Prompt number 1, Bruges. What book is too perfect for you? This prompt gave me some trouble, but I would go with maybe A Big Wonderful Thing by Stephen Harrigan. It's a big history of Texas that, for me, is how history should be written. It is just an amazing book. Prompt number 2, Ghent. Who is your favorite antagonist or rebel? For this prompt, I'm going to go with 2. Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto, by Masashi Kishimoto. Sasuke is both the main antagonist of Naruto, as well as the deuteragonist of Naruto. Sasuke is a young man from the same village that Naruto is from, Konoha, in the Land of Fire, and he is part of Naruto's student ninja team. In the setting, basically graduate ninjas are placed on 3-person teams led by a more experienced ninja, jonin, to make a 4-person team essentially. And on Naruto's team, Sasuke and Naruto are joined by Sakura, a young woman who is in love with Sasuke, and Naruto is in love with her. And this sort of love triangle produces some tension between Naruto and Sasuke that eventually forms into a sort of a friendship rivalry where they both sort of bounce off of each other and improve and gradually become friends, until Sasuke's older brother comes back to Konoha, because years before, Sasuke's family was slaughtered by his older brother. And Sasuke's one desire, or one of his desires, is to avenge his family by killing his older brother. And unfortunately, his older brother is a lot better than he is, and this recognition that for all of Sasuke's progress up to that point, he still can't do anything to his older brother. And this drives him away from Konoha into the arms of one of the series' major antagonists, Orochimaru. And so from this point onward, Sasuke becomes an antagonist. Although his antagonism is more coincidental towards Konoha for a good stretch of the second part of the series before revelations drive him more to fully want to wipe Konoha off the map. But it's just Sasuke is a very interesting, compelling character, and just talking about it makes me want to go and buy up a whole lot of Naruto, which I only have 1 volume of right now. Anyway, and the second antagonist or rebel is Zeref Dragneel from Fairy Tail by Hiro Mashima. Zeref is this incredibly powerful wizard who is, whether intentionally or not, the being behind a lot of the threats that the Fairy Tale Guild, particularly Team Natsu, have to deal with through the course of the series. Zeref is a centuries-old dark wizard who has been cursed with immortality and a sort of a mental illness as well, that he's sort of, it's the curse of contradiction, to where if he wants to be a good person, he can't control his powers, and if he wants to be a bad person, he's more fully in control of his power. So it's pretty much, he's cursed to be a villain, and he has this grand plan that is incredibly intricate, and one of those villain motivations that it's rooted in a desire ultimately to do good. There is another major antagonist. Essentially, Fairy Tail has co-main antagonists. Zeref. Natsu is Zeref's younger brother. Spoiler alert. But also this evil dragon named Acnologia. And so, essentially, the final arc of Fairy Tail is Zeref trying to find a way to fully defeat Acnologia. And he has a few other goals as well. But Zeref is just such a fascinating character. So I would go for my favorite antagonists as both Sasuke Uchiha and Zeref Dragno. Prompt number 3. Antwerp. A book everybody raves about, but you don't like it at all. For this prompt, I'm going to go with The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson is an incredibly popular science fiction and fantasy writer, and he's never done it for me. I've tried to read The Way of Kings 3 times now, and it just, I've bounced incredibly early. Less than 1% in, it's just overwritten, in my opinion. Prompt number 4, Ostend. What book tells a very passionate love story? I'm going to repeat my answer from an earlier tag and go with Maria Theresa by Barbara Stohlberg-Rilinger. It's a biography of Maria Theresa, who was the Empress of Austria in the mid to late 18th century. And one of the interesting things about her is how passionately in love she was with her consort, Francis Stephen, who eventually became Holy Roman Emperor. It was just one of the highlights of Maria Theresa is that love story. Prompt number 5, Liege. What is your favorite book about trains, train travel, or stations? For this prompt, I'm going to go with The Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. Murder on the Orient Express is one of Agatha Christie's greatest novels. It features her most famous creation, Hercule Poirot, who is traveling from Istanbul to Paris on the Orient Express, and while he's on the train, a rather disreputable American is murdered savagely, and with the train stopped due to a snowdrift, Poirot must figure out who's the murderer, and it is a classic story. Prompt number 6, Charleroi. On what book did you change your mind after a reread? I'm going to go with The Last Son by Katie Edwards. I know this is again a repeat, and also I did try to do a reread of The Last Sun a few weeks ago, which turned into a bale. So when I first read The Last Sun by Katie Edwards, this is a urban fantasy set in an alternate Earth in which Atlantis was real, and after a world war that saw Atlantis destroyed, and its remaining population fleeing to the island of Nantucket to create New Atlantis. It's basically about the last Lord's son, Rune St. John, who, along with his companion, essentially bodyguard, Brand, are the one of the sole survivors of the Sun Court. The government of New Atlantis is controlled by an aristocracy inspired by the major arcana of the tarot. Although in this setting, they probably inspired the major arcana of the tarot. And so in The Last Sun, Rune basically is serving as a mercenary for another major arcana, the Tower. When this novel opens, Rune and Brand are participating in a raid to dissolve the Heart Throne. They've been doing a lot of evil things. As he is escaping, he encounters the head of the Heart Throne, who, in exchange for a sickle, a magical artifact highly coveted amongst New Atlanteans, he agrees to take care of a package for her. That package turns out to be her teenage grandson. Once the whole thing with the lovers, the Heart Throne is taken care of, the Tower hires Rune to find the Tower's missing godson, who is the middle son of the Justice Throne. And that kind of search for him reveals corporate corruption, schemes to attack a number of other major arcana, and also an undead sorcerer who basically eats despair. When I first read the novel, when it came out in 2017, I rather liked it. I had some issues with it, but I liked it for the most part. And then I reread it in 2019 in preparation for the sequel, The Hangman. And I became a lot more critical of it. A lot of the things that I quite liked about the novel on the first reading, I didn't like on the second. And this third reading, it just, no. So it was very frustrating. Prompt number 7, Bouillon. What book about religion or with a religious theme did you really like? I really don't think I've read any. Except for maybe there was, but I can't remember the title of it. It's by, I can't even remember the writer's name right now. I read it like 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago. It's by Susan Jacoby. The author's name is Susan Jacoby. I'm blanking on the title, but it was a book on atheism. Although I think there was a more recent one that I really liked as well. But I don't really like a lot of, I can't really think of any book that about religion, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, that I really enjoyed. So, prompt number 8, Ypres. What is the best anti-war book you've read, and the best war book? So anti-war. I don't know. That I'm blanking on. And the best war book. For that, I'm going to go with. I'm gonna. I can't think of anything for either one. I mean, I did like the Franco-Prussian War by Geoffrey Warrow, but my rereading of that one a year or two ago, I'm a bit critical of. So, sorry, but I'll pass on these two. Finally, prompt number 9, Brussels. What graphic novels do you like? So, I am a fan of American comics, primarily American superhero comics, and if you've been watching my channel for the past year or so, I've gotten back into collecting manga, Japanese comics. And so I've already mentioned 2 manga series that I especially love. Naruto, which I do need to work on recollecting, and Fairy Tail, which I'm about a little less than a third of the way having collected them. So I'll go with a more recent, or 2 recent manga that I especially like, and maybe an American comic book or 2. Even though technically they're not really graphic novels. As for me, graphic novels, I think more properly are self-contained. But particularly with American comic books, the collected releases are called graphic novels. So we'll go with that. And I might add one that well, 2. So this is going to be a bit of a list. So I'll also add Eden Zero by Hiro Mashima. It's his follow-up to Fairy Tail. It's about a young man named Shiki who has been raised on a planet of robots. One day, a young woman named Rebecca and her ex-seat companion Happy come to film a video, and the robots attack her, the two. Shiki rescues them and joins Rebecca and Happy on their ship to go adventure. It's a wonderful series, and I'll talk a bit more about it in a few weeks when I get largely caught up with the series. Also, Taliban Hanako-kun by Ida Iro. This is about a young woman named Nene who goes to perhaps one of the most haunted schools in all of Japan. She hears that if you perform a certain ritual in a certain girl's bathroom, she will be able to summon this spirit known as Hanako-san, which is bound to a toilet stall. She does, and she encounters the ghost, which instead of being a young girl is actually a young boy. And this version of Hanako-kun is basically he sort of monitors and controls the other ghosts in this school. And Nene joins him, and they're eventually joined by a young trainee exorcist named Ko. And it's just, I love Taliban Hanako-kun, and I really want to pick up all of the series. So far I'm stymied with Volume 4. But anyway, so those are the 2 extra manga I'll go with. Like superhero comics, I really like the X-Men, Teen Titans, Spider-Man I've loved, although not quite recently. Young Avengers, and I think for Batman, Robin, I can go on and on. But I think for like straight, what I consider to be like proper graphic novels, I would go with, I think the title is Cairo by G. Willow Wilson. I think she's the one who wrote it. It's about it's set in Cairo. It's about a young man who finds sort of a magical water pipe, and it's really good, although it's been forever since I've read it. And I would also go with Scott Pilgrim versus the World by Brian Lee O'Malley, I think, and it's quite good too. So anyway, Booktube, except for tagging people, which I traditionally, if you would like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. That wraps up the Booktube Belgium tag. So thank you, Booktube. Have a great afternoon. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow with another video. And until then, stay safe.